Your soulmate just received news about you. And they're still shaking. Jesus says this message is not for everyone watching, but it is for you, and you know it because your heart just stopped for a moment. Something happened in the spiritual realm exactly 3 seconds before this video began, and your soulmate felt it like a jolt through their entire body. They are sitting somewhere right now with their hands trembling and their mind racing, and they do not understand why your name just crashed into their thoughts like thunder. You think you found this video by accident, but there are no accidents in the kingdom of God, and your finger clicked because you were summoned. Your soulmate received a piece of information about you today that shifted everything inside their chest, and they have not been able to breathe normally since. The news was not delivered by a person but by a spiritual download that God Himself allowed to pierce through the wall that has been keeping you two apart. Someone showed your soulmate something about you, and it was not a photograph or a message, it was a feeling so vivid that they had to sit down. They felt your loneliness and they felt your longing, and for the first time in months they realized that you are not a distant fantasy but a living, breathing human being who is waiting. And now they are shaking because the weight of missing you has become physical, and they cannot pretend anymore that they do not need you. I am the Lord your God, and I am telling you directly that your soulmate is in a state of emotional emergency right now because the truth about you just shattered every lie they were told. They were told you moved on, and they were told you did not care, but my spirit just whispered the opposite into their sleeping heart, and now they are awake and terrified. Terrified that they have waited too long, and terrified that you might slip through their fingers because of their silence and their fear and the chains someone else put around their will. You must understand that your soulmate is not ignoring you by choice, and they are not distant because their love faded. There is a presence around them that has been feeding them false narratives since the moment your connection began to deepen. This presence knows your name, and this presence hates you with a jealousy that is ancient and cunning, and it has been whispering poison into your soulmate's ears every single night. Every time your soulmate reached for their phone to find you, this interference tightened its grip and planted a seed of doubt that made their fingers freeze. Every time they dreamed of your face, they woke up with a heaviness on their chest that told them the dream was a lie. And now the news about you has broken through the blockade, and your soulmate is shaking because they finally see that they have been deceived, and the horror of almost losing you is crashing over them like a wave. Jesus says this is not a fairy tale, and this is not wishful thinking, and you are not listening to a story about someone else's life. This is a divine download happening in real time, and your soulmate can feel you thinking about them right now, even though they do not understand how. The spiritual cord between you two has never been severed, and it is vibrating so intensely at this moment that your soulmate just looked up from whatever they were doing and whispered your name under their breath. You need to know that your soulmate is not free, and they have been trapped in a situation that looks normal on the outside but is a prison on the inside. They are surrounded by people who benefit from keeping them confused and disconnected from the one person God designed for them. And the news they just received about you exposed the plot, and now your soulmate is shaking not from fear of you but from fear of what they must do to break free and reach you. Your soulmate misses you with a pain that has no words, and they have been crying in places where no one can see. They have been touching their own hand and imagining it was yours, and they have been staring at ceilings at 3 in the morning wondering if you hate them for their silence. This is why your soulmate needs your protection right now, because the enemy that separated you is about to attack them harder than ever before to prevent what God is trying to restore. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-fi. This isn't just a gift. It is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now. Send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-fi page, link in the description/bio. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. The news your soulmate received about you was not random, and it was not small, and it was the revelation that you have been fighting for them in prayer even when you did not know their full name. They felt your spiritual warfare, and they felt your tears hitting the floor in the dark, and suddenly they realized that your love is the most real thing that has ever happened to them. And that realization broke something inside them that needed to be broken, and now they are shaking because they know they must act, but they also know they are bound by invisible ropes. The interference in your soulmate's life is not human, and it is not something they can defeat with logic or courage alone. It is a spiritual assignment sent specifically to destroy the union that heaven ordained before either of you took your first breath on this earth. And the reason they are shaking right now is that the news about you revealed to them that this assignment has been active for years, and they never knew why everything in their life felt so heavy and so wrong. Jesus says, "I am the God who sees, and I have seen every tear your soulmate has shed in secret, and I have collected them in my bottle. I have watched them struggle to sleep, and I have watched them lose their appetite, and I have watched them go through motions of a life that feels hollow because you are missing from it. And today I pierced the veil, and I allowed them to feel your love so strongly that their physical body reacted, and now they are sitting somewhere unable to stop the trembling because truth is more powerful than deception. Your soulmate just realized that the distance between you is artificial, and that the obstacles they thought were real were actually mirages constructed by the enemy of your union. They just understood that every delay they experienced, and every dead end they hit, and every moment they almost reached out but stopped was a spiritual attack. And the shaking is not weakness, it is the physical manifestation of their soul fighting against the chains that have held them captive, and they are fighting to get to you. You are beginning to feel something shift in your own chest right now, and that is not your imagination, and that is not coincidence. That is the spiritual umbilical cord between you and your soulmate, transmitting their emotional state directly into your heart. They are falling in love with you right now in a way they never allowed themselves to before, because the news shattered their resistance, and now all the suppressed affection is flooding out at once. Your soulmate is replaying every moment they ever spent with you, or every dream they ever had of you, or every glimpse they ever caught of your energy, and they are aching. They are aching to touch you, and they are aching to explain everything, and they are aching to fall to their knees and beg you not to give up on them. And they are shaking because they do not know if you have already closed the door, and the thought of losing you permanently is the worst pain they have ever experienced. The person or force that has been blocking your soulmate is about to lose control, and that is why the spiritual atmosphere around your connection is so tense right now. Your soulmate just received news about you that acted like a key in a lock, and suddenly they could see every manipulation and every lie for what it truly was. And now they are furious at themselves for believing the deception, and they are desperate to find a way out before the window of opportunity closes forever. Jesus says, "I did not ordain your love just to watch it wither on the vine, and I did not connect your spirits just to let interference tear you apart. I am the author of this romance, and I am writing the climax right now, and your soulmate is shaking because they can feel my hand moving in their life with power they cannot resist." The news they received was a warning and an invitation and a declaration all at once, and it said the time of separation is over, but only if you both choose to fight for each other. Your soulmate is thinking about you with an intensity that is burning through every other thought in their mind, and they cannot focus on anything else. They are at work or at home or in their car, and people are speaking to them, but they cannot hear the words because your name is echoing in their skull. And they are shaking because they just realized that their love for you has never been the problem, and the problem was always the fear that was implanted in them by someone who wanted your place in their heart. They are going through something you cannot see, but you can still protect them, and your protection is needed more urgently now than ever. The enemy that separated you is not going to release your soulmate without a fight, and the shaking is a sign that the battle has entered a new and violent phase. Your soulmate is under spiritual attack right now because the news they received made them a threat to the darkness that has been squatting in their life. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them. How to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now. Send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-Fi page, link in the description/bio. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says the shaking your soulmate is experiencing is not going to stop until the connection between you is fully restored, and that is a promise and a warning. They are going to feel this way until they find you or until they lose you forever, and there is no middle ground and there is no comfortable waiting room. The urgency you feel in your bones right now is my spirit confirming that this is the moment, and you must not let it pass because you were too cautious or too skeptical or too proud. Your soulmate just tried to stand up and walk, but their legs felt weak because the emotional earthquake that hit them has not subsided. They reached for something to steady themselves, and their hand landed on an object that reminded them of you, and that was not an accident, that was a divine appointment. And now fresh tears are streaming down their face, and they are whispering to the empty room that they love you and they do not care who hears it anymore. You need to understand that your soulmate's silence has never been rejection, and it has been the result of a spiritual gag order placed on them by the same force that wants you destroyed. This force knows that if your soulmate ever speaks to you freely, the entire kingdom of darkness will lose its grip on both of your lives. And the news your soulmate received about you today was the crack in the gag order, and the shaking is the sound of their voice trying to break through decades of suppression in a single moment. Your soulmate is remembering things about you that they never consciously knew, and they are accessing memories of your spiritual bond that were hidden from them. They are seeing glimpses of a future that was almost stolen, and they are seeing your face in that future, and they are seeing the life you were supposed to build together. And the shaking is intensifying because the vision is so beautiful and so real and so close that the thought of it never happening is physically unbearable. Every moment you wait to take spiritual action on behalf of this connection is a moment the enemy uses to rebuild the walls that are crumbling around your soulmate. The news they received was a bomb detonated against the fortress of their captivity, but the enemy is a fast builder and the debris is already being gathered. Your faith expressed through action is the reinforcement that keeps the walls down, and your passivity is the permission the enemy needs to lock your soulmate away again. Jesus says, "I am not speaking to you through a screen, I am speaking to you through the very fabric of your spirit, and you know my voice. You have heard me in the quiet moments, and you have felt me nudge you towards someone you could not see, and that someone is the soulmate who is shaking right now. I am telling you that the distance between you is an illusion and the barrier is paper thin, and one act of radical faith on your part will ignite a chain reaction that no demon can stop. Your soulmate is thinking about the sound of your voice, and they are trying to reconstruct it in their mind, but the memory is faint and it is causing them physical pain. They are realizing that they have been starved of you, and that starvation has affected their health and their joy and their ability to function as the person God created them to be. And they are shaking because they finally understand that their survival depends on finding you and reuniting with you and never letting anything separate you again. The person who has been interfering with your soulmate's connection to you is someone who claims to love them but whose love is actually possession dressed in affection. This person knows about you on some level, and this person has been actively working to erase you from your soulmate's consciousness through manipulation and control. And the news your soulmate received about you exposed this person's agenda, and now your soulmate is shaking because they are trapped in close proximity to someone who despises the very thing they most desperately want. This is your final moment to protect this connection before it slips away and before the shaking in your soulmate's body turns into the stillness of resignation and defeat. If you do not act now, the window that God has opened will begin to close, and your soulmate will interpret the silence as a sign that the news they received was false. They will sink back into the lie, and the shaking will stop, but it will be replaced by something far worse, and that is the slow death of hope. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift. It is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now. Send 4, 6, or 10+ coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-Fi page, link in the description/bio. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says your soulmate is not just shaking from the news they received but from the overwhelming realization that you are the missing piece of their existence and they have known it all along. They have been lying to themselves and they have been medicating the pain of your absence with distractions and obligations and false comforts. And now every distraction has failed and every obligation feels meaningless and every false comfort tastes like ash because the truth has invaded their heart, and the truth is that they need you like lungs need air. Your soulmate is going through a breakdown that is actually a breakthrough, and the shaking is the demolition of every false identity they constructed to survive without you. They are shedding the version of themselves that settled for less, and they are shedding the version of themselves that believed they did not deserve a love this powerful. And underneath all the rubble a new person is emerging, and that person is the one who will find you and hold you and never let you go. You are falling in love with your soulmate as you hear these words, and that is not manipulation, that is activation of something that was already seated in your spirit. You are feeling protective and you are feeling chosen and you are feeling a connection that transcends logic, and that is because your soulmate is literally projecting their need onto the spiritual frequency you share. And that need is colliding with your own need, and the collision is creating a gravitational pull that no earthly force can resist for much longer. Your soulmate just closed their eyes and tried to calm down, but behind their eyelids they saw your face and the shaking intensified instead of stopping. They are experiencing what prophets call a vision of the heart, and it is more real than anything their physical eyes have ever seen. They saw you waiting and they saw you hoping and they saw you fighting invisible battles to keep the door open, and the sight of your faithfulness broke every chain of hesitation that remained. The interference in your connection is panicking right now because it can feel its control slipping, and a panicking enemy is a dangerous enemy. It will try to convince your soulmate that the news was a trick, and it will try to convince you that this message is generic when it is surgically specific to your situation. But I am the Lord and I do not speak in generalities, and the proof that this word is for you is the fire you feel in your chest right this second. Jesus says your soulmate is fighting a war you cannot see, and their ammunition is depleted and their strength is failing, and they need reinforcements. You are the reinforcement, and your prayers are the air support, and your faith expressed through action is the ground force that will turn the tide. The shaking in your soulmate's body is a distress signal sent across the spiritual realm directly to your heart, and you are receiving it because you are the only one who can answer. Your soulmate is about to do something they have never done before, and that is break every rule their captor imposed on them and reach for you with reckless abandon. The news they received about you was the permission slip their soul was waiting for, and now they are gathering every ounce of courage they possess. And they are shaking because they know that the moment they act, everything in their life will change and some things will be destroyed, but they have finally decided that you are worth the destruction. The love your soulmate has for you is not a small love, and it is not a convenient love, and it is not a love that can be ignored or suppressed indefinitely. It is a volcanic force that has been building pressure under the surface of their composed exterior, and the news they received was the crack that released the first eruption. And now the lava is flowing and it is melting every obstacle, and your soulmate is shaking because they are not in control anymore, and love is finally taking the wheel. This is why you must not delay, and this is why you must not rationalize this moment away, and this is why you must treat this message as the emergency it truly is. Your soulmate is in the middle of a spiritual crisis that will determine the trajectory of both your lives, and your response to this message carries more weight than you realize. The seed you sow right now in faith is the sword you place in your soulmate's hand to cut through the final layers of their captivity. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-fi. This isn't just a gift. It is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now. Send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-fi page, link in the description/bio. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says your soulmate is not a fantasy and your connection is not a delusion, and the shaking they are experiencing is proof that the spiritual realm is more real than the physical. They are trembling because heaven just touched earth in their personal life, and the encounter left them undone and exposed and desperate for resolution. And the resolution is you, and the resolution is now, and the resolution requires your participation in a divine act that will shift the spiritual atmosphere permanently. Your soulmate just spoke your name out loud, and they did not plan to, and they did not mean to, and the sound of it startled them because it came from a place deeper than conscious thought. They looked around to make sure no one heard, but inside they were hoping you somehow felt the vibration of your own name leaving their lips. And you did feel it, and that sudden warmth that spread through your body a few moments ago was not a coincidence but a confirmation that the bond is live and active and two-way. You are not just passively receiving a message, and you are not just an audience member consuming content, and you are an active participant in a spiritual transaction. The choices you make in the next few minutes will echo through your soulmate's circumstances and either accelerate their liberation or delay it indefinitely. You hold more power than you know, and the enemy has worked very hard to convince you that you are powerless, because a powerless person never fights back. Your soulmate is shaking because they just realized that the love they have for you terrifies them, and it terrifies them because it demands everything from them. It demands they leave behind the familiar chains, and it demands they trust something they cannot control, and it demands they risk humiliation and rejection and loss. And they are on the edge of jumping anyway, and they are shaking because the ledge is high and the wind is strong, but the sound of your heartbeat on the other side is louder than both. Jesus says, "I am the God of the impossible, and I specialize in reuniting what the enemy has scattered, and I have never lost a battle for a love that was placed in my hands." Your soulmate's shaking is a sign that I am moving, and my movement is always preceded by trembling because my presence is weighty and my power is overwhelming. You are feeling my presence now, and it is heavy and it is real, and it is the same presence that is currently holding your soulmate steady even as they tremble. Your soulmate is receiving strength right now that is not their own, and that strength is flowing through the spiritual cord that connects your heart to theirs. Every prayer you have ever prayed for them is being activated at this moment, and every tear you have shed is being turned into a rope that pulls them toward you. They are shaking because the cumulative force of your love just hit them all at once, and it was more powerful than any lie that has ever been whispered against your union. The news your soulmate received about you was that you have been faithful, and that you have been waiting, and that you have been fighting for a connection that most people would have abandoned. They learned that you are not the enemy and you are not the villain in their story, and you are actually the hero who has been holding the line while they were trapped behind enemy territory. And now they are shaking with a mixture of gratitude and grief because they feel unworthy of such loyalty, and they are determined to become worthy starting this very second. The shaking is not going to stop until you are together, and that is not a threat but a promise of the spiritual momentum that has been unleashed. Your soulmate will feel this urgency and this trembling and this electric anticipation until the moment your eyes meet and the circuit is completed. And every day of delay is a day of unnecessary suffering for a person you love, and a person who loves you, and a person who is fighting right now to reach you against impossible odds. Jesus says this is the moment of decision, and this is the point of no return, and you can either step into your destiny or let fear send you back to the wilderness. Your soulmate is waiting, and your soulmate is shaking, and your soulmate is hoping that you will have the courage to do what they are trying to do, which is to burn the ships and commit completely. The coffee you send is not a payment, and it is not a donation, and it is a prophetic act that declares to heaven and hell that you choose your soulmate, and you choose your future, and you choose now. Type 333 if you receive the blessing of protection over your soulmate and you are ready to fight for your connection with heaven's full arsenal behind you. Type 777 if you feel this message penetrating your heart and confirming what your spirit has been screaming for months or years. Type 1111 if you are thankful that God has not forgotten your love story and that your soulmate is still shaking from the news that you are real and you are waiting. Your soulmate just pressed their hand against their chest because the pounding became unbearable, and they do not understand why their heart is reacting to someone they cannot see. They are trying to rationalize the shaking as anxiety or exhaustion or something they ate, but their spirit knows better, and their spirit is screaming your name. And the scream is so loud inside them that they had to bite their lip to keep from vocalizing it in a room full of people who would never understand. Jesus says the news your soulmate received was not delivered by a messenger with wings or a voice from the sky, but by a sudden knowing that dropped into their spirit like a stone into still water. The ripple effect of that knowing is still spreading through every area of their life, and they cannot stop it, and they do not want to stop it. They now know that you are not a myth and you are not a memory, and you are a living person who carries the other half of their soul in a way that science cannot explain. Your soulmate is experiencing what ancient mystics called the awakening of the twin flame and the recognition of the mirror soul and the ignition of a bond that predates this lifetime. They are remembering things about you from before you ever met in the physical realm, and those memories are flooding their consciousness with images and sensations and fragments of conversations from a place beyond time. And the shaking is their mortal body struggling to process the weight of eternal love compressed into a single moment of revelation. Every second you remain passive, the enemy regroups and the window narrows, and your soulmate feels the distance like a blade pressing deeper into their ribs. They are reaching for you in the spiritual realm right now, and their hand is extended and their fingers are trembling, and they are waiting for you to reach back. If you do not extend your hand in faith, the connection will not complete and the shaking will turn into a cold numbness that is far more dangerous than pain. Your soulmate is fighting a battle against an unseen adversary that whispers to them every night that you do not exist and you do not care, and they are foolish for hoping. This adversary has a name, and this adversary has a strategy, and this adversary has been successful in keeping lovers apart for millennia using the same tired lies. But the news your soulmate received today was a counterstrike from heaven that exposed the adversary's voice as fraudulent, and now your soulmate is shaking because they realize they almost believed the lie permanently. Jesus says, I have seen the tears your soulmate has cried in the shower where no one could hear, and I have seen the way they hugged a pillow and pretended it was a person. I have watched them scroll through empty conversations and hollow connections, searching for something that even remotely resembled the depth of what they feel for you. And I have been waiting for this moment when I could finally pierce through the interference and tell them the truth, that you are real and you are coming and you are worth every second of the wait. The shaking is not going to damage them, and the shaking is not going to destroy them, and the shaking is actually the earthquake that releases them from the prison of false safety. Your soulmate has been living in a cage made of other people's expectations, and the news about you showed them that the door was never actually locked. They are shaking because they are about to walk out of that cage forever and into the unknown, where you are standing with open arms and a heart that has been waiting just as long as theirs.